Berg here. So the question comes up, well, who do I give my Titan Soul to? So I mentioned this website before. You can see the address right up here. I think this is a real good resource for what to do with heroes. As you can see here, last updated 2021. So there's a few things that are different, but for the most part, this is good information. So you click on the table of contents, and again, it tells you about all the different classes. But you come down here to promotions, and you click on that. And it takes you down to this section where it talks about Titan Souls. It talks about what the heroes pick up additionally. It talks about who this person thinks should get the promotions, and then also explains why, which is great, right? Anytime someone can give their reasoning, that's a good thing. And that's part of what I'm going to try to do today too, is give you my reasoning on why I picked who I did. So for me, my number one pick for Titan Soul, hands down, is the Sorcerer. Sorcerer becomes a Warlock. I love this class the most in the game, period. And part of the reason I like them is they limit RNG as a class. And what I mean by that is every game has a RNG, random number generator, and it's how it decides things like, for example, if your evasion is 67%, well, that means that 2 out of 3 times you should dodge an attack. So the way RNG works is it provides some sort of additional element to that, luck, fate, whatever you want to call it. And so what happens is, some games are very literal about it. So you will dodge twice, get hit once, dodge twice, get hit once, and that will happen on a never-ending cycle. I mean, most games don't do that. Most people don't want that, believe it or not. But then there are other games with the RNG so out of control where it's like, well, yeah, over 10,000 times it will be 2 out of 3. So you could be in a battle and get hit 5 times in a row, right? If you had a 67% evasion. I feel like Kabam somewhere in the middle. You certainly have some battles where maybe you get hit, 2-3 times in a row. But in general, they do a fairly good job of you're gonna dodge about 2/3 of the time. But you're still at the mercy of RNG. The Sorcerer or the Warlock is not, in terms of when they attack, they're gonna hit you for 40,000. And it may be a little bit more, a little bit less. Again, RNG factors into the damage as well. But that's a pretty hefty hit. And again, I know I just made the argument about RNG and why it makes, for example, some of the rogue classes not be the first one to give the Titan Soul to. But that said, half the time, roughly, this person's going to get double that damage, 80,000. So you got a guy going in, he's going to do 40,000. Sometimes he's going to do 80. Like, why would you not want this guy? I get it. His HP is not great. His defense is not great. Although if you click on the defense, you see his threat rating is only 10. So he's less likely to be a target of the attack. And I'll explain more about that when we get to the Knight / Lord. But, I love Sorcerers. I love Warlocks. They're all about, putting out alpha damage. And they're not subject to the whims of RNG. So the next class, even though I was talking about RNG, is going to be a rogue class. It's the Conquistador. Well, it's the Musketeer. You give them the Titan Soul, they become a Conquistador. And I like this class in general because I feel like they do a lot of things well. They're not spectacular in anything, but the attack's pretty good. The defense is okay. Decent amount of hit points. The evasion's pretty good. And again, a lot of these are dependent on RNG to include the critical hit chance, 63%. So pretty close to 2/3 chance of getting a critical hit, which is 3 times, which is 24,000. And the way this works with a Conquistador versus a Musketeer is the damage percentage will actually stack. So if they get a crit hit, they get 24,000. If they get it again, they get plus 25%. It has to be consecutive. And so 25% of 24,000, 6,000. So now they're doing a 30,000 damage hit. And if they get it again the next time, you take 25% of that. So now you're talking about 7,500, so 37,500 damage hit. So, I mean, this is, and that resets after 4 consecutive hits. But that's a pretty, and again, it's very RNG dependent, but you can get some amazing results out of a Musketeer. But even when they're not crit hitting, they're a solid character. They can take some hits, they can deal out some damage, and sometimes they'll dodge, sometimes they'll get those crits and be even better, right? So again, I really like this class, even though I poo-pooed RNG in a class that depends on it. I am very happy with my Musketeers and my Conquistadors. I have 2 Warlocks, 2 Conquistadors. All right, the next person that I would make for the number 3 slot, it's a little strange. So it's a level 1 hero. So a thief. Now a thief is a thief. They're not super amazing. But but when you make him into a trickster, well, you get some advantages. And so some of those advantages, as you can see here, really the main advantage, they're able to use other things besides daggers, which means they can do a little more attack. But more importantly, they add 3% to Polonia steal chance. My Polonia right now is at 50% steal chance. That means there's a 59% steal chance. Again, you're limited by RNG, or not limited, but you're at the mercy of RNG. But roughly 2/3 of the time, you're going to get a stolen item. They also increase the max items that can be stolen by 2. So Polonia can steal 20, I believe. So 22, 24, 26. So you send them into an area where they can have 4 heroes or 3 heroes and a champion. They're going to get 26 items of loot. And so for me, that's important because, if you look at my shop, I'm not really a big shop guy. I like it. It's something added to the game. I think it adds another dimension. It's fun. You would not look at my shop and be like, oh, this is what I want to do. That's not me. There's people in my guild that make way better shops. I love the hero aspect. I love getting loot from my tricksters so that I can sell it and then buy more things for my heroes. That's really what it comes down to. Or invest in the guild. They're kind of a weird choice. They are, level 1, but I do think they're worth it in terms of augmenting what Polonia does. So fourth is the knight being turned into a lord, and this is an interesting one for me. I don't love fighters because they don't seem to do much, and they don't always get attacked. If you could make it so they got attacked all the time, they'd be more useful, I think. Like if you could arrange them so they were in the front. But the knight kind of takes care of that. And so what I mean by that is if you click on his defense, he's got a threat rating of 130. So if you remember back to my warlock, he's got a threat rating of 10. That conquistador I showed you, threat rating of 40. Say you throw in somebody else with threat rating of 20. That makes the group 200. So you take the lord or the knight's threat rating, you divide it into the groups. And so that means that this guy has a 65% chance of getting hit in a standard group of 4. So that's, again, you're at the mercy of RNG. But 2 out of 3 times, they're going to target the knight, which, if you look, he's got crazy high defense, a lot of hit points. He's going to do well. He's going to be able to absorb those hits. And even though it's RNG dependent, he's generally, more often than not, going to be the one that the enemy targets. A couple updates ago, they made an innate skill for him, which is protect an ally from a lethal attack once per battle. Well, this is great. Remember the sorcerer and how the sorcerer didn't have a lot of hit points? So, really they're going to be attacking this guy more often, but once in a while the bad guy attacks the sorcerer, attacks him twice. It's the 3rd time the sorcerer's going to die. Well, this guy takes the hit. Now, he can only do that once per battle, but that's amazing. Now you get another 40 to 80,000 attack out of your warlock. So this is why this guy, I've never loved knights. I'd actually gotten rid of mine. Somebody on Reddit actually talked me into getting another one and talking about some of the things they can do. And then when that update came out and that extra ability, again, of protecting an ally from a lethal attack once per battle, I was like, oh yeah, this is a good choice. I wouldn't do more than one. And like I said, they're the 4th on my list that I'd give a Titan Soul to. But I am happy with this character, and I'm happy I did it. And I, always send him in with one or both of my warlocks. 5's kind of a tie. So these lower groups, and this knight was another one. He's a tier 3 basically. So he would have had, I believe, 3 of these skills. He got a 4th skill by getting the Titan Soul. Same thing with the Conquistador. And these people that I'm about to tell you about, they also get an extra skill, which is important. But they don't get a huge boost out of the Titan Soul, but they're still better. So one of them is the Wanderer, that becomes a Pathfinder. Now, I haven't done a good job with this person in terms of trying to max out their evasion. But the big thing that happens for a Wanderer that becomes a Pathfinder is the maximum evasion goes up by 3%. So everybody else in the game, to include a Wanderer, can only do 75% evasion. So 3 out of 4 times they're going to dodge. You can actually make a Pathfinder reach 78% evasion. This particular guy actually is really set up for critical damage. It's just what I happen to roll. So, I haven't focused as much on the evasion. But it's a really good all-around character. Dodges a lot, does some pretty decent damage. I'm glad I gave him a Titan Soul. I wouldn't do another one. Yeah, and then so the other person that, kind of ties at number 5 here for me is the Druid. Again, picked up this 4th skill that she wouldn't have had otherwise. She's got a lot of hit points. She does a pretty decent amount of damage. No real crit. Yeah, 9% crit. I mean, that's, nothing. She's basically going to consistently pump out, close to 20,000 damage every time. And she's got a lot of hit points. Her defense isn't great, but, she's going to last a while. She picked up an extra skill. I like her. I like the Archdruid. She amazing? Not really. That's why she's at 5. That's why she's tied at 5. Beyond that, Titan Soul is kind of up to you. I'm going to talk about the level 6 heroes here in a second. If we just go back real quick and run through the different levels. So level 1, like I mentioned, Thief to a Trickster, Mage to a Mercenary, or Soldier to a Mercenary, Mage to an Archmage. There's not really a reason to do it. If Kabam were to come up with something like the Thief, where they get this interesting innate ability that's sort of outside the box of your base stats of HP, attack, defense, evasion, right? And so what they did is they made this extra stat where it's like the steal chance increases, the max items stolen increases. If they could do something like that with a mage or a soldier and give them some sort of additional innate ability, maybe there'd be a reason to pick up those characters. But right now, there's really no reason to give them a Titan Soul. Barbarian, like I mentioned, I'd be interested to try it out. I mean, they pick up a bonus to their health, their threat rating, and their attack. They go from 2 skills to 4 skills. It would be interesting to try out, and I think I will when I'm able to get another character. But I don't see anything there that really drives it. Monk to Grandmaster, I did not like my Monk. Got him up. Never made him a Grandmaster. I got him up to I think a level 32 maybe. I did not like the Monk. Felt like didn't do anything really well. And then part of what they talk about or what this person talks about in Hero Academia is that, they're really hard to roll for too, for whatever reason. So, it's really easy to roll a bad Monk or Grandmaster. And I just, if somebody has a great one and they want to talk about it in the comments and explain why, I'm all ears, but I did not like the class. Again, don't have a lot of experience with the class either though. Or the hero, I should say. Cleric to a Bishop, I feel like Kabam if they could make this like a mini Lilu, right? So, because right now what happens is the cleric heals themselves. When they become a bishop, they just heal themselves more, which means that they can survive a battle longer, but they don't really do a lot of damage. So it's like, they're just existing. They're like your average American. They just exist. They're not really contributing anything. So, I feel like that's a class where, again, if you made it like a mini Lilu, it might be more interesting to use, but a cleric to a bishop, I don't know. Another one we didn't touch on. So we did all the level 3 heroes. Level 4, so Rangers. Some people love Rangers. I've had 3 over the course of the game, made one a Warden. I just am not impressed. Whereas the Conquistador, I feel like, does a lot of things well. I feel like the Ranger does nothing good. They have some evasion, but they get hit pretty often. Their attack is not very good. The defense is okay. To me, I did not have a lot of luck with them. I didn't like them. In Hero Academia, this person says that, oh yeah, you can do some amazing things with them. Maybe you can. I don't know. Again, if you have some comments to the contrary, I did have a little more experience with them than monks. I just was not happy with them. I felt like they, like I said, did nothing well versus a Conquistador, which I feel like does everything pretty well. Level 5, if you'll notice, I did not pick any of those heroes. Samurais are solid fighters. I still got one. They get a 200% critical hit damage on their first round, right? And when you make them a daimyo, they also are guaranteed to dodge in the first round. So they're kind of this one-trick pony, right? The first round is what they do amazing. And after that, they are pretty solid. They have a decent threat rating. They've got, decent stats. They can be a tank. They just don't do anything well. Probably be one of the last people I'd give Titan Soul to. Well, I say that. Ninjas, do not like ninjas, hate ninjas. The fact that you get hit and lose your innate ability, it's funny, in Hero Academia, it says it's the only character that actually can get worse as the battle goes on, right? And that's true. And then, so the solution is you make them a sensei, and they'll lose that innate ability when they get hit, but then they can gain it back after 2 rounds. And I'm like, okay, well, that's better, but is that really... do I really want a character that keeps getting hit and losing their innate ability, getting worse as the battle goes on? No, I don't. My wife has one, loves it. I am not a fan. Spellblade, Spellblades, I felt were really good sort of in the mid-tier level. So like when our training hall is max at like 20 something, right? And you have these these spell blades from, I don't know, level whatever 10 to 25 or so. They're actually pretty effective. They're a wild card. They can use most weapons. They can use any sort of element. But their biggest strength is also their biggest weaknesses. They have access to all of the skills or most of the skills. So that makes the vast majority of skills are common skills, right? So they have this larger access to mediocrity. So, and they don't really get anything when you make them a spell knight. I mean, this is another character that I think Kabam could do something with to make them viable. Like, oh, I might want to get a spell knight because they have this extra innate ability. As much as I hate the Ninja Sensei, at least they did that, right? They're like, hey, you gain this ability back in 2 rounds. Again, I don't think it's worth it to get one, but the spell blade doesn't have anything. It's just you become a spell knight. So what? You get some added stats. And I believe you already have access to 4 skills for, a larger pool of mediocre skills. So I really liked spell blades when I had them, but they just got to a point where they did not perform. And for whatever reason, I liked them and not Rangers, but the story was the same. They got to a certain level, and it's like they don't really do much. They're not worth it to keep. All right, so level 6. I haven't talked about any of the level 6 characters. Well, I have a Titan Soul, and I'm going to go ahead and add it to this guy. I like this guy. He's one of my Berserkers. Berserkers have this great innate ability, right? So as they get more wounded as the battle goes on, their attack increases and their evasion increases. Well, that's great, right? Like that's what you want. You want a character that gets better as the battle goes on. So I like Berserkers a lot. I've never given a Titan Soul to one, and part of it is if you look, he's already got his 4 skills. So I'm not picking up any extra skills. Really, all I'm going to pick up is some augmentation here. So let's see, how do I do this? All right, we're going to go into inventory and here, and somewhere in here should be a Titan Soul. Oh, there it is. And we're going to give the Titan Soul to this guy. Upgrades. This is kind of a pointless thing. Wow, it gets, a decent amount of hit points. His attack goes up some. Defense, goes up a little bit. So we're going to upgrade him. All right, there you go. Titan Soul. You're now a Jarl. Yeah, so he just picks up, he picks up some stats, which is good, which is great. He's already a great character, but, his innate ability, where'd he go? His innate ability should be the same. Yeah, so his innate ability is the same. So I wouldn't say don't give a Titan Soul to your level 6 heroes. I gave one to one of my dancers, actually made him into an acrobat. I think Berserkers and dancers, I really like them a lot. They do their roles very well, and they have some interesting innates. And just making them a little more OP is great. Give them a Titan Soul. Why not? And again, they wouldn't be at the top of my list. They'd be up there tied with 5, probably 6, honestly, because they don't pick up an extra skill. Geomancers, Geomancers I do not love. I mean, the thing I like about that casting class is alpha damage, and Geomancers, they have a decent amount of alpha damage, but they just, and they have much higher defense. Than the average caster. They've got some hit points. They don't have a lot of hit points. This is another case of I feel like they don't do anything amazing, but they are solid, but they're kind of like a solid all around. But do I really want to give a Titan Soul to be even more solid all around? I'm not in love with Geomancers. Making one an Astromancer would not really make my day. But again, maybe somebody has a Geomancer example out there where they made an Astromancer and they thought it was great. I'd be surprised, but by all means, correct me in the comments if you'd like. So again, the order in which I would give heroes Titan Souls. Number 1 is the Warlock or the Sorcerer, making them a Warlock. Love that class. I think as a Warlock, they pick up that extra skill, and they're crazy good. Next one would be the Musketeer. Again, I think they do a lot of things well. I think you make them into a Conquistador, and they get all these buffs. Plus, they have this stacking ability for their critical damage, which can be very useful. RNG dependent, the whole character is, but they do enough things well that aren't dependent on RNG. I think they're definitely worth it to give the Titan Soul to. Number 3 is the Thief, and simply because of the really smart idea that Kabam had of making a innate ability that's sort of outside the box of the your traditional attack, defense, whatever. And you put them with Polonia and you get a lot of loot, and you can sell that loot or use it. I mean, whatever. But I think, very, very smart innate ability to make a level 1 hero desirable. And then on to number 4, which would be the knight, turning them into a lord. The fact that they have a high threat rating, that they can take the damage, they're more likely to be hit because of that higher threat rating. And then now when you make them a lord, the fact that they're able to take a killing blow from somebody else. Again, you take that killing blow from the warlock, now the warlock gets to throw out another 40, 80,000 damage. I mean, that's a great ability. And then number 5, again, kind of a tie. The Wanderer becomes a Pathfinder, great class to begin with. It raises their evasion cap. It's only 3%. It's nothing amazing, but you make the character that's already good at, better. They pick up an extra skill. I like it. There's a reason it's number 5. It's not amazing. And, they tie with the Druid. Same thing. Druid picks up an extra skill as an Archdruid, picks up some buffs. Doesn't really get any sort of special innate ability that I'm aware of. They do get to add rings, right? So if you prefer rings to amulets, because of you like to have a greater attack, great. But at the end of the day, that's the reason they're number 5. And then, number 6, kind of up to you. Like I said, I want to try the Barbarian into a Chieftain. I really don't have any experience with that. I did like turning Berserker into a Jarl and my Dancer into an Acrobat, so those will all be down there kind of, number 6. And then, like I said, there's some classes I'm just not a fan of, and I definitely would not give a Titan Soul to. But at any rate, if you have any questions, comments, throw them down below in the comment section, and appreciate you watching. Happy trails.